Hello, it's a beautiful spring day here today in the UK. I hope it's lovely wherever you are in the world. I just wanted to say a few things about the upcoming workshops with Teacher Xie. I saw a quote posted on Facebook recently where Dr. Pang said that in the beginning we need methods, in the middle we need methods but less methods, and that then as we get more advanced we need less methods, or even to go beyond methods. Now I think it's important that to note that life is not always linear. I find life is more like a spiral or even a circle. Like, do you not find yourself coming full circle back to where you started, to the same place, but with a different understanding? So that can happen too. So it's not like A, B, C, D, but there is a sense that when we get to a certain place, the methods become less important. That's not to say that we reject the methods completely or we abandon them completely. It just means that we have a toolbox and we can take whatever we need out of the toolbox whenever we need to. The practice becomes more flexible. So, and another thing I say about beginners, the beginner can also be a very good place. Beginner's mind, we hear that famous saying, the beginner's mind. Because at the beginner's level, sometimes you can be so open. I remember when I first started meditation, I had some quite profound insights because I had that very open beginner's mind where you have no judgments, where you're very open to the teachings. So beginner's mind can be quite helpful, and sometimes even as we move along the path, to remember to have that beginner's mind can also be very helpful, because what tends to happen, I think, in the middle is that the mind becomes very well educated. It has a lot of theory, and the mind starts to think that it knows more than it actually does. There's a very famous Zen story which I love, which kind of illustrates this, where the Zen master says, "Don't mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself." And that's what can happen, I think, in this middle stage. We can mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself. So what does that mean? That means that we start to become very attached to methods and theory. And the very things that are meant to set us free and liberate us and heal us become a new limitation, a new boundary. And actually, we can start to become very judgmental. We can start to compare different teachers. Oh, this teacher says this teacher says that. Or we may learn, say, a method one way, and then another teacher will teach it differently, and then we'll start to doubt or judge, oh, this is not how I learned to do it. And so we lose that openness, that beginner's mind, or the going beyond the method mind. And of course, in life, we sometimes do need to compare. That's part of learning. But it's just really not becoming limited, I think, by the methods. And so in my own practice, I've actually really been letting go of zhinengQigonguk methods, the traditional methods. And I've just been more connecting with my heart and finding what does my body need. And I find that the more I am in tune with my own heart and my own energetic system, I can listen to what I need. I know what I need. I know what I need to practice. I don't need to follow a book, as it were. But in the beginning, I remember that can be really, really helpful. So in this workshop with these upcoming workshops with Teacher Xie, what we're really doing is, rather than learning more and more methods and more theory, we're just coming back into alignment with our heart, with our own inner lighthouse. And what's really interesting, I found, about Teacher Xie is seeing people's reaction to him. There are generally two different reactions. One is like, oh my gosh, this teacher just really brought me powerfully back to myself. This is just what I was looking for, or complete confusion, like what just happened. And so it really depends where you are in your journey. And I think a lot of it is I've done a lot of work with alternative education, and what we used to see is children coming out of mainstream education coming into a more homeschool environment or an alternative environment. They would need time to unschool. It was really interesting because they're so used to being structured and regimented and told to sit here, do this, learn this, that when you take them out of that environment, there is a period where they need time to readjust, to find themselves. You know, they're no longer being regimented and over-schooled. And I kind of find that with Teacher Xie, that you maybe just be ready for it, or you need a little bit of time to unschool. I think that in our society, sometimes we're being over-schooled, over-programmed. And so we go to workshops thinking, give me more methods, give me more techniques, give me level 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When really all that's happening is we're going further and further and further out of ourselves. Actually, the very thing that is meant to awaken us is actually going more out here. We're going more out into the world, more into the form. And that comes back to another point. When we practice, what mind are we practicing with? Are we practicing with a form mind? Is our mind saying, I must do 9 circles here and 9 circles there, and I must be 15 degrees here? And you know, there comes a point you have to let that go. In the beginning, it's useful. Yes, we need right alignment. We need to learn the methods. Sometimes we may need to know how many times we need to do it, just while we learn. But we have to go beyond that. We have to go beyond that. We have to find our own lighthouse, our own inner guide, and to trust ourselves. If we're always like trusting the outside technique, we don't learn how to trust ourselves. Think of some brilliant people in history. There are some brilliant people in history that didn't have a lot of education. I'm not saying that we don't need education and we don't need methods. We do. If I get into a plane, I want to know that that pilot is very well trained. So everything has its place. But there comes a point when we have to follow our heart. And that's what we do in these workshops. We come back to a natural state. It's a kind of deprogramming. There will be methods, there will be sounds, but the focus is finding our own heart and trusting our own intelligence.